Obviously, there are a lot of other technologies, but I try to at least mention the most important ones. Some of these things are going to be huge. For example, the whole vision-based input systems, as you can imagine, are big these days because they promise a lot of flexibility in terms of how we deal with the systems. Or 3D displays are going to be big. You already see that there's a lot happening related to them. So some of them are really hot technologies these days. Some of them less. For example, speech-based systems have been around for ages, and they're still being worked on, and they're still not as successful as we want them to be. But they may not. I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot of changes for them as well. But as I said, I try to at least choose and talk about some of those that are going to be hot topics in the next few years. Well, thank you very much. That was kind of my quick presentation. If any of you guys have any question, feel free to ask. I think you need to go to the shout mode if you want me to hear you. But otherwise, well, thank you very much, and I hope I was able to quickly mention some of the important things to you guys.
Thank you, Ali. Very nice. I actually have
Thanks.
a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Nikit.
Yeah, in terms of the interaction that we are talking with Mark and APIs and WebAli, can you just give us a little bit of vision of how, especially in educational framework, interactivities that you would envision in coming years, or what kind of research are we planning?
Right. So in terms of an environment like we have, for example, if you look at the project that we have here for creating our virtual campus and virtual educational environment, the whole interactivity can happen basically on all the 3 different levels that we said. So we can be talking about how to improve our interactivity at the input level, or at the output level, or at the processing level, which is basically kind of internal to the system. So in terms of input-output system, the WebAli, the tool that we have right now, is kind of limited to mouse and keyboard and 2D displays. We are hoping that in the next generation of this tool or any other tool that we will be using, we will be able to use other types of input-output system. For example, 3D displays. Imagine that instead of looking at this 3D world on this 2D screen, you have an immersive cave-like 3D display. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to talk much about 3D displays, but immersive displays are one example of it. So you go into this room and your 3D world is projected all around you. It is not technologically impossible for us to change this, although it has very, very huge challenges, to change this display system from this screen to a completely immersive 3D display. Or, for example, consider the the input part. Instead of having mouse and keyboard, what if we have a vision-based system or some sort of motion tracking to allow us to input movement to the system? So if we want to move, instead of using arrow keys or WASD keys, we actually perform some body movement. All of these things are theoretically possible for us to do in this system, but it involves a lot of changes. The third part, obviously, is how we actually create content. And that's what Mark is working on, and our whole part of the project, which is dealing with API part. So for those of you who are not familiar with that part of our project, remember that the content that you're experiencing right now, what your experience is being changed based on your input. So that's kind of interactive. So you look at some direction, you see something, look at another direction, you see something else. You move, so your location changes and all those kind of things. But still, most of the content that you're dealing with is statically created. So we, and you guys all are working on it, we create this content and we upload it to the server and make it available. But in a real interactive system, we expect the system to dynamically create content. What if I suddenly decide that I want to go and, for example, break something here? So I want to have a broken version of the objects, this table or that chair or something, that nobody had thought about before. to create this, so that content doesn't exist. If you want to do something that results in a content that doesn't exist, right now we can't do it because we cannot dynamically create content. So one of the things that Mark is trying to do is to see how we can use Unreal Engine's API or Web Alive's API to dynamically modify the content. And that allows us to be more interactive. Now we can allow the user to do things that they couldn't do before. Remember that whole concept of choice. Or, for example, what if the web page that right now you're looking at isn't doing anything for you? It only holds the 3D screen, the 3D world. What if you want to have different objects, different like web objects around this page that allow you to interact with this system? That's again part of the API that adds more interactivity to you. So, for example, remember that at the beginning, Nukit wanted to go and set her recording things on. What if around this web page you have a button that allows your web page is not really interactive? Your 3D world is controlled. The API-related part of the project is doing all these kind of stuff, adding more ways for the user to interact with this 3D world and dynamically affect the 3D world. I don't know if I answered your question well enough, Nukit.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay.
Nope. Well, thank you very much for coming. Hopefully it was helpful.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you, Ali. I was wondering, Ali, if you can stay a couple of more minutes with the Turkish team to talk about what we have discussed before. Ali has left, but Anil has left. But if you could stay with Lamia and Murat, that would be great. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. I'll go stop my recording. Hold on.